All right, this is going to be Q&A test number one at 120 words a minute. Proper names: Joanne Hutton or Joan Hutton, General Loan Company, Hart Agency, Mr. Thomas Hart, Mr. Duncan, Mrs. Todd, and Dr. Allen. Q&A number one, 120. Would you state your full name and spell your last name for the court reporter?
Joan Hutton, Hutton.
Is it Miss or Mrs. Hutton?
Mrs. Hutton.
Are you employed, Mrs. Hutton?
No, not now.
When were you last employed?
About a month ago.
And what firm was that?
At the General Loan Company.
All right. How long did you work there?
Approximately 2 years.
Now, before that time, where were you employed?
I was with the Hart Agency.
What was the Hart Agency?
A personnel agency.
Who was the principal officer of the Hart Agency?
Mr. Thomas Hart.
Were there any other officers at the agency?
Yes. Mr. Duncan and Mrs. Todd were also officers of the Hart Agency.
Mrs. Hutton, what was your position at the Hart Agency?
I was the receptionist there.
All right. What were your duties as receptionist?
Answering the phone, typing, running errands, and so forth.
And what kind of errands would you run?
Oh, like shopping, going to the bank, and cashing checks, and so forth.
Mrs. Hutton, you said in answer to a question that you had some defect that you felt might interfere with your service as a juror if accepted.
Yes.
What is that?
I have cartilage in the knees.
How would that interfere with your service as a juror?
When I sit still, my knees get stiff and I have to move them around.
Well, are you able to sit for a period of an hour at a time?
Yes, sir. Sure.
You could do that and then take a recess and exercise your knees and come back and listen with full attention?
Yes, sir. I could.
Well, under those circumstances then, do you think it would interfere with your service as a juror?
No, I don't believe so.
Mrs. Hutton, do you remember when His Honor addressed the whole panel yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall him saying that this defendant or any other defendant in a criminal trial does not have to prove his innocence? Do you recall him saying that?
Yes, I remember that.
If you were chosen as a member of this panel, would you follow that instruction?
Yes, sir.
Would you follow the instruction that you must make a decision on guilt or innocence based solely on what you hear from the witness stand?
Yes, I would.
Would you follow that instruction?
Yes, sir.
Do you know any reason at all that would prevent you from listening to the evidence in this case, and when it came time to decide whether he is guilty or not, giving this man a fair trial?
No, sir, I don't.
Dr. Allen, I think you testified that you were approximately 6 feet away from the store. Is that right?
That's right.
You saw 7 people at different intervals go in?
No, sir.
How many did you see?
I saw 6.
You are sure it was 6? There is no question about it in your mind, is there?
No, I wrote it down. That's what I saw at that time. I remember 6.
As they left, did you ask these people their names?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see these people again?
I'm not sure. There may have been a couple of people who came back.
You say you are not sure?
I am not sure.
You never asked the names, and you are not sure whether the same people came back.
I'm not sure.
Was the door of the store open or closed?
At this time, the door was open.
You were standing opposite the window, but not opposite the door. That is what you testified to. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You saw them engage in conversation. Is that right?
That,
Okay, the next one will be Q&A test number 2 at 120. And the proper names are Detective Shipe and Centinela Hospital. Okay. Is that true?
no, it's not.
Did you tell him you knew it was stolen?
No, I did not.
Did Detective Shipe ask you if you thought the gun was stolen?
Yes, he did.
Do you remember what you told him?
I told him that I bought the firearm from a gentleman off the street, and at the time that the firearm was broken, so I didn't know if it was stolen or not.
Let me ask you this one more time so we're all clear. Were you going to sell that marijuana?
No.
So you bought a gun off a guy on the street, right?
Yes, yes,
A complete stranger to you.
yes.
How much did he want for it?
He wanted $100, but I only had 56 bucks on me.
So he took 56.
He took the 50 because I needed $6 to get home.
How did you happen to run into this particular stranger who had a gun to sell?
Was coming from where I had dropped my car off to be serviced, and I met him walking.
And you said, got a gun I can buy?
No, I did not. He asked me. The gentleman was a drug user. He said that he had something he wanted to get rid of real quick.
And it was a gun, a broken gun, I think you said.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so you wanted a broken gun that cost $50. Why?
At the time, I was only 17. I didn't know that much about a firearm, so
Why did you want a gun? Just for fun?
not necessarily.
Why then?
Well, I wanted one. I had a fascination with guns.
And a fascination such that you bought a broken one off of a stranger, drug user on the street, right?
Correct.
And I'm sure you must have been aware, even at the young age of 17, that there were places that people could go to buy guns if they really wanted, like gun shops, right?
Yes, but I did know at the age of 17, you had to be 21 to obtain one.
And buying it off the street seems like a good way to get one when you can't otherwise get it, right?
Correct.
That is what you wanted.
Correct.
Was there anything about the drug user that made you think he was perhaps a legitimate man, perhaps an owner of a gun shop himself?
Well, at the time I didn't. No, not a gun shop, no.
No. And were you aware when you were 17 that there are all sorts of rules and regulations that govern guns to make sure that they don't get sold illegally?
Not to the extent because I was 17. I wasn't familiar with that knowledge.
Did you have some idea, maybe less than you've got now?
Somewhat, but I had lesser than I do now.
Did it ever occur to you while you were buying this that perhaps that person had stolen the gun and that they didn't legitimately have the gun you were buying?
No.
Never occurred to you.
Well, it occurred to me drug users often sell their possessions to get money to use drugs also.
So you knew at 17?
Correct.
Well, but you didn't know about gun regulations at 17?
Well, my father, he was a drug user. So I did have the experience of knowing a drug user.
Now, you said you are a security guard at Centinela Hospital. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what? Okay. All right. Next will be test number 1, Q&A at 100 words a minute. And the only proper name I see is Latino.
And it continues.
Okay. Do you have the ability as a security guard to, well, quell disturbances at the hospital?
Meaning,
Well, if there's something that needs a security guard, are you authorized as part of your position to use that baton, the pepper spray, the handcuffs to control the situation?
yes, I am certified.
What does that certification process involve? A background check, perhaps?
Yes, ma'am.
They have to check you out to make sure you're okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How about drug testing? Does the hospital drug test you?
Yes, ma'am.
And would marijuana trigger the drug test a positive test?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you lose your job if you tested positive for marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been drug tested?
Yes, I have.
How often does the drug testing occur?
Once for employment.
Was that at the beginning or a random time?
Beginning of the employment.
How long have you been working at the hospital?
I've been working there since October 31st of 2002.
And did you like the job?
Did I like the job?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Does it pay pretty good?
Yes, it does.
A job you'd like to keep?
Yes, ma'am.
And you smoke marijuana on a daily basis?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you do that?
Because I have very, very bad back pains. And at the time, I didn't have any medical attention. So that was relieving my pain.
Did you? It sounds like you understood that if you had been drug tested and you tested positive for the marijuana, you'd lose your job, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you did it anyway because of these back pains, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever see a doctor for these back pains?
No, I don't have any medical attention.
You are not getting medical benefits through your job?
I just received, I just made full-time position where I'm at now.
Now, you said that you were at the gas station and that's how you acquired sort of a fire sale style purchasing of all this marijuana, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You were at the gas station buying a cigar, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that at the like inside area where they sell like mints and candy and stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Right at the cash register, there's a display with some cigars,
Yes, ma'am.
and you were in line. Did you have the cigars in your hand?
Yes, I did.
How many?
I bought a box.
A box?
Yes, ma'am.
And the Latino behind you, rather than thinking you were just buying cigars, knew you were interested in buying marijuana, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he start this conversation about, hey, do you want to buy some weed right there in the gas station
Yes, he did.
in front of the cashier?
Yes, he did.
Any other people inside?
The way it's positioned, it's closed off so you can't go inside.
Okay.
It's just a window.
But this conversation, as far as you could, all right, and this will be your test number 2, Q&A at 100 words a minute. Proper names are Clark and Chevrolet.
Right.
All right. When you stopped your vehicle, did you slam on your brakes and skid, or were you able to slow it down?
There was no skidding. I came to a complete stop.
Did it appear that the vehicle that Clark was driving, the other vehicle, did it appear that that vehicle ever slowed down?
No,
Do you have any idea how fast that vehicle was going?
fast. Faster than she should have been in the weather conditions.
Did it appear that that vehicle did anything to avoid hitting you?
She was probably trying.
I mean, from what you could tell, what was that car trying to do to avoid the accident, if you know?
I don't know. She was all over.
Was that vehicle skidding?
It did everything.
Tell me what you saw that vehicle do.
She came around the curve. She saw us. We were at a dead stop. It looked like she was trying to correct herself to get back. There was no getting back, and that's when she hit us.
Did you ever talk to the driver of that vehicle?
I asked her if she was all right.
Did she tell you anything about a puddle of water on the road that she had hit?
No,
Were you around when the driver of that vehicle spoke to the police officer?
I was at the accident, but not right there with them.
You weren't there to hear what they were saying to each other.
No, I was off to the side a little bit.
Were you given a ticket in the accident?
I didn't get a ticket. No.
And you had your daughters with you in your vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
You were driving a Chevrolet truck.
Yes.
At the time of the impact, what happened to your body inside the vehicle?
It was slung to the passenger side.
Were you wearing your seatbelt at the time of impact?
Yes, I always wear my seat belt.
Was it just a standard pickup truck, or was there a cab in the back, an extended cab?
It had an extended cab. Yes.
The girls were in the front seat with you.
One was in the front seat, one was in the middle back.
Were both of the girls belted?
Yes.
Did the vehicle have airbags?
No.
These were some pictures that I think came from your attorney. Is this the truck that you were driving?
Yes. That looks like my truck.
And do these photographs depict the damage that the vehicle sustained in the accident?
Yes. Except this tire was underneath and the back tire was completely off the rim.
The rear passenger tire is what you're saying.
Right.
Does this depict the tires as it was after the accident, or has it been pulled out by this time?
It's been pulled out.
Your vehicle, was it repaired or was it totaled?
The insurance company totaled it.
Were you paid for your property damage?
Yes, I got a little money paid for it.
Was